All right, greetings everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time zone you're joining from. I have the pleasure of being here to keynote my journey. Fork in the road equals joy in your career. My name is Amma, and for the next 25 minutes, I'll try and keep us on schedule. I'm going to really discuss my journey within technology. So let's go ahead and get started. So to begin with, again, I'm originally from New Jersey. My name is actually Ghanaian, so my ethnicity is Ghanaian, and I'm also African American. But let me just say, I think an amazing childhood. I'm a huge daddy's girl for anyone who's out there who has a great relationship with their father. I'm the apple of his eye, and he's the apple of mine. I had an extremely supportive mother. My mother was a first grade teacher, so education was very much instilled in me from birth all the way through till adulthood. And I did really, really well in school. So from the start of kind of my childhood and my family life, it was phenomenal. It was a great backdrop to set me up for success. And one of those successes was Wharton. So I actually went to Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania. Go Quakers for anyone who happens to be joining from Penn. And again, was one of the big accomplishments that I've always wanted to have in my career. My first fork was really freshman year in an Ivy League school. And so my first fork was I got a really, really bad grade in calculus. It was when you go to college from high school or from any other establishment, college is a transition. You no longer are the smartest person within the room. You now have everyone is a valedictorian. Everyone was in National Honor Society. So it levels the playing field. And I really struggled freshman year at Wharton. And so I had a choice. That was my first fork. I could either stay at Wharton and go through the rigorous education and all of the different sessions, or I could potentially go to a different major. So we had like the College of Arts and Science, Engineering, etc. Or I could have definitely transitioned to another college. But within that fork, I chose to stay. And I say that because I remember freshman year when I got this really bad grade in calculus, it was devastating. I really thought that I would never get an internship, right? I wouldn't be able to get a job. Like, how could I really overcome this? My GPA was horrible. It was really devastating. And it was, again, especially me being, having no fork. That was kind of my first fork in my life. It was a real trial and tribulation. And so I decided to stay, and it worked out. I ended up getting an internship at Citigroup the summer after my junior year. That's really one of the core kind of internships that you do, because you get, hopefully you get an offer and all of that good stuff. And then I also ended up graduating. So I made it, right? I graduated from Wharton. I made it. And so I share that to say, within that fork, it was really important for me to show grit, to show tenacity, to really bear down. And I learned so much throughout my college career as I went through kind of, again, all of these trials and tribulations to really make it out. So then as I go down, I then end up, I graduated, I moved to New York City. I always wanted to live in a city that never sleeps. I started doing business management. I did a little bit of management consulting. And then 2009 happened, and I got laid off. And that was another fork, because it was like, whoa, like life can happen to anyone. Like I did everything that I was supposed to do, right? I was a good kid. I did really well in school. I now went to this Ivy League, like someone who graduated from Wharton, like things happened to them. And so 2009 was, again, another really, really big fork for me in terms of, hey, okay, now I'm laid off. What do I do from here? Should I continue on the kind of business management route? Should I do something different? Do I stay in New York? Do I, do I go somewhere else? And again, that for me was a great journey. And so what I did was I definitely leveraged that time to do some reflection on really kind of what do I want my life to look like. And so one of the things that happened, oh, it's going wrong way, is I ended up joining Microsoft. And they were looking for a financial analyst in the advertising and online space. And so they were like, hey, with your, again, Wharton background, core finance, you did a little bit of management consulting, we would love to have you. I did not know the advertising space, digital advertising. I really thought that advertising was, what shade of blue invokes sadness. But it was very much quantitative. So taking quantitative data and telling a qualitative story, also thinking through how do you make something come to life with data. So what's your propensity to click on this particular ad, and should the ad kind of swoop out and take over the page? And for how long, and there's a lot of data that actually drives advertising. And so it was a really interesting, door into Microsoft. But for me, again, this huge technology company, it was a great marriage because on day one, I was able to not only learn something, of course, being with the Microsoft brand and that whole portfolio, but also give something, because again, at that particular time, they were really looking for someone that had, that was able to take quantitative data and tell a qualitative story. And so again, in 2009, right, my first fork was got laid off. What do I do? Do I go back to B school? Do I continue? Do I kind of take these temporary things? And that really set me up to join this amazing company. And so, great. So now I'm at Microsoft. I made it. I now have a job in a recession. That's also something to celebrate as well. But now I have a really bad manager. And I'm like, oh goodness, what do I do? This manager wasn't the best. They created a very stressful environment. I would even dare to say toxic environment. And it was really hard because it was hey, I am grateful that I have a job, because again, the unemployment rate was really high. I have a job at a really great company, so that gives me job security, but my quality of life was just not the best. And so that was my other that was another fork in my journey, where I said, hey, you know what? I'm the master of my fate and I'm the captain of my soul. And there's certain things that I can control and certain things that I can't control, and the wisdom for me to know the difference. And so at that particular time, it was okay, I either stay in this role at Microsoft with not the best manager. I couldn't really see a way to get promoted. So I'm I'm just kind of this cattle call of I'm in line, I'm number 27, and hopefully, a role opens, or I change my destiny. And it dawned on me that Microsoft was a global company. And so what I started to do is really research what different opportunities there were. I always wanted to do something international, so international business was always at the back of my mind. I love to travel on a personal perspective as well, and so kind of how do I merge these particular two things? And so I started to really explore international opportunities within Microsoft. And the funny thing that I'll say is everyone's oh, was it really hard to make this jump or what have you? It really wasn't. For the most part, if you ask anyone to speak with you for 30 minutes, they will. People usually tend to help. And what I found is that after that first conversation, people were brought in to help me. And so I literally would ping a country manager in Brazil and say, hey, let me speak to you for 30 minutes. I would love to know the culture. I would love to know some of these are the transferable skills that I have. I think I might be able to be a fit here. And tell me a little bit about yourself. And once we had that dialogue, the person that I was speaking to was so brought in to help me be successful in this jump or in this next role. They started to actually suggest people actually, I know the HR person in South Africa, or I know someone who moved from New York to UK. You should definitely talk to them about their experience. And so I decided to stay, and that fork really took me across the world. So at that particular time, I was doing digital advertising in New York City. I then actually moved to Ghana to launch the Microsoft office in Ghana. It was an amazing experience. It was like being part of a startup with the name Microsoft. It was a team of 4 of us that launched, but that's where I actually learned the backbone of Microsoft. So our channel ecosystem, from our distributors to our customers, all of our regional facilities. So at that particular time, MIA, which is Middle East and Africa, EMEA, Europe, Middle East and Africa, and corporate, hiring our interns and managing our interns, literally picking out a physical office. It was a phenomenal experience. And I also got to travel on behalf of Microsoft. So that particular role took me to South Africa, it took me to Dubai, it took me to Antalya in Turkey, it took me to Europe. It was just a really, really phenomenal experience that I would have never imagined and could have dreamed of when I was sitting in New York City having, not the best experience and a bad manager. After my time in Ghana, I then moved to Seattle, where Microsoft is headquartered, to do marketing. And again, I had a phenomenal experience there at our headquarters, got to really build up my brand, rub elbows with the VPs and CVPs of the world, and really learn about global strategy and sales and execution and marketing. And now I recently just moved actually to Atlanta, doing operations. So again, if you told me this in, sitting in New York with this bad manager, like, hey, you actually could like travel the world and live in 3 different cities and multiple continents, I would be like, you're crazy. But I decided again to really go down that journey and really embrace it. So that was an amazing opportunity, and again, looking forward to some more. The next thing is Roaring 20s. I mean, I really have to explain the forks here for last year. 2020, I think, was challenging for everyone. There was so much going on, and I think this was a monumental fork for the world in terms of what path you wanted to take, and what you actually wanted to learn, or actually have a best practice around in 2020. And so it could have stemmed from time with your family or loved ones. It could stem from your health. Again, of course, we were dealing with a pandemic, and so that isolation and figuring out how to kind of navigate that. There are a lot of racial and social injustices and systematic injustices that were kind of bubbling up and was affecting the world. And so there were a lot of forks within 2020. I only have time. I don't have enough time to go through all of them. But what I will say is that for me, it really put things into perspective. I started to value the things that are not tangible and that you can't put a value to. So my support system, my family, my friends, my health, my peace. Peace of mind is something that's extremely priceless. My things that inspire me, things that bring me joy. And so again, I'm sure all of you have had forks within 2020, and potentially are still continuing to have forks within 2020. I'll say here, to continue down that journey and really embrace the journey. What I ended up doing is getting this new role, which happened to be a promotion. I ended up changing cities. I ended up purchasing a home and starting kind of new chapters. So again, I think it's really important to share how something that wasn't expected, something that's out of your control, you can also leverage for your advantage and leverage for broader learnings as well. And so I'll kind of wrap up here. I see they're kind of pinging me that I have 5 minutes left. But I'll say that, my journey has been phenomenal. I have lived a full life. I love this slide because it gives all of these different kind of winding paths and different sort of environments and stuff. And what I'll say is that if I didn't have those forks, if I didn't have a lot of my setbacks actually became setups. And so really embrace these forks in the road. Take time to pause. And figure out what you actually want to do, what resonates with you, which path you will take. And I'll say no path is really the wrong path. Because if it's meant to be, it shall be. And really taking time to kind of smell the flowers along the journey, figure out what you could learn from that particular experience, figure out who you can help within that particular experience. Sometimes it's really not for you to gain, maybe it's for you to give, right? Really reflecting as you go down your path and down your, this journey we call life. I think is really important. But again, just taking time to again enjoy your environment, enjoy your atmosphere. Sometimes I love the photo in the bottom corner of looking in the rearview mirror. That's one thing that one of my career coaches always says. It's like, hey, Amma, you're super ambitious, but like stop, look back, and like celebrate how far you've come. Because a lot of people would love to be in your shoes, and I think that's also applicable to this audience as well. And so I'll end by just saying, again, each fork is a choice, and choose to live your life by design, not by default. I hope that this presentation was helpful. My journey, again, has been very unique, but very inspiring to me, and just really a true value and priceless. And I'm looking forward to more of my forks. This is not the end for me. So with that, I will say thank you. I really appreciate the time. So thank you to the Canadian Undergraduate Technology Conference team for having me on this keynote. And I hope the rest of the conference goes really, really smoothly. So thank you. With that, I think I have 4 minutes for questions, because we want to keep on time. So if there's any questions, I have a couple of minutes. I could probably take 1 or 2. I'm not seeing the questions. I'm not sure if the organizer can help. I have to click the Q&A section by the stage. Sorry, guys. Stage tab. Give me a second. Cancel. Nope, don't want to do that. Oh, I found it. Okay, got it. Sorry for that. Okay. What was your choice when they had a bad manager at Microsoft? So my choice there again was to really either stay with Microsoft or not. I could have absolutely have stayed with that manager and kind of bore down and just really try to wait. But I'm not a person that I'm the type of person that I don't want life to happen to me. I want to design my life. And so I also knew, like, it's actually, I learned a lot from that bad manager. I'll say 2 things that I learned. The first one is the things that I would never want to do when I was a manager. So sometimes you have leaders and mentors and sponsors that you learn what to do. This particular person, I learned what not to do really early, because I was like, I don't want to be the type of leader that leads in this way and makes people feel this way. But for me, it was, hey, changing my actual environment and changing what I was going to do. What are some struggles during the transition, and how did you overcome them? I think some of the struggles in the transition was really the learning curve, especially in each role. But I think it's also one of the best practices that I'll share with you is being really candid. Everyone has a new role, has a growth opportunity, and understands that you're not going to know everything 100% of the time, especially at the beginning. And so being really honest about that. Like, it's okay to say I don't know. Sometimes I'll even say, hey, I don't know that, but I'll find out, right? Or I'll get the actual information. And so, again, for me, in terms of transitions, is being really open and honest and creating clarity for what I'm going to do. There's certain things that I'll know and certain things that I don't know. And I'll be really clear on the things that I don't know and have some sort of proposal of, hey, this is how I'm going to get that information. And this is where I might need your help, or I might need to still understand a little bit more. So I think creating clarity in any transition is helpful, because then people, one, it's clarity for you on like what you should be doing and timelines, etc. But it's also clarity for the other person to either help or potentially unblock things as well. And then I think last question. When did you start gaining interest in computer science? What resources did you use, and what programming language did you start off with? It's so funny. So I actually am not like I don't have a computer science degree. As you saw from my journey, you can have a phenomenal career within technology and not know how to code, right? Not know how to develop, because at the end of the day, technology for me, what actually interested me was not building the technology, but the empowerment that the technology could have, and figuring out how to get that within the, in the broader world and broader ecosystem. And so I think especially this particular conference, they are doing a phenomenal job of showcasing different capacities in the technology industry. So a lot of people, I think, default to think technology means developer or software developer or some sort of coder. And I understand that. Like, I understand dev test environments. I covered Azure, so I have like a level 100 knowledge of it. But mine was really on the business side. Like, it started there. And then I fell into the technology industry for what it can do, what it can unlock. It's an amazing equalizer in terms of what you're empowered to do in the technology and to move forward. So yeah. Well, again, thank you for your questions. I'm going to pause here and end, but thank you so much. Again, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to continue the discussion. I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference, and I hope this is really, really helpful. So thank you, and I'll hand it back over to Ron and Rifa and the conference team.